the two states I really like to see, there's a big chance they will regulate over the next 3-4 years, maybe even faster, would be Florida and New York. That will mean 45 million new players. So basically, you double the market by adding those two. I mean, both of them have sports betting, and there are activities to move ahead with iGaming. Of course, we never know how long time that will take. So that will be huge.
This podcast is sponsored by Pragmatic Solutions, the player account management platform chosen by today's smart betting and gaming operators. Don't let technical constraints delay you from achieving your business goals. Expand your business, boost your margins, and dominate the market in any leading regulated jurisdiction with our powerful, flexible, and secure iGaming platform. Enjoy its extensive marketing tools, compliance protection, real-time data, and a wide portfolio of over 1,000 industry providers. It's time to upgrade your technology. Let Pragmatic Solutions show you the modern approach. Visit pragmatic.solutions and join the smart thinkers.
This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Play, a leading game developer providing player favorites to the most successful brands across the industry. With an award-winning multi-product portfolio of slots, live casino, bingo, virtual sports, and more, Pragmatic Play is powering up new possibilities of play through one single API. Visit pragmaticplay.com and discover your favorite every time.
Bingo, bango, bongo. My old friend Erik Nyman, President North America of EveryMatrix's, is here today. How are you doing, Erik?
Great to be here. Thank you for asking, and let me also congratulate you, Pierre, to amazing success, not just in Europe but also in the US over the last few years, hosting one of the key events here. So great to be here, and looking forward to this conversation.
Absolute pleasure, Erik. We talked about this for quite some time. Is that the Florida flag that you have next to you that you're representing here today? Is that?
Yeah, exactly. This is the Florida flag. A little bit to the right of it, you also have the US flag, but I figure let's keep it to the state today.
I love it. It goes with the times, let's say. Erik obviously based and EveryMatrix office is based down there in Florida, and I've been really excited, actually, Erik, to jump on this podcast that we're doing today, because EveryMatrix is such a fascinating and unique company of the industry for many reasons. You're obviously touching many areas of the industry, which makes the company really interesting in itself. It's kind of like a real true expert on the industry. But another point that I take notice is the fact that you are a private company, but you report quarterly reports as if you were a public company. And I just to give some context to the audience today, how well your company is doing. So in the yearly report that was recently published, you show a growth of 70% surge in EBITDA, up to 101 million euro profit as in EBITDA in the year 2024, 59% increase in revenue, and you have an EBITDA margin of 56%. I mean, EveryMatrix is an absolute machine. How is it possible to keep these type of margins and growing as quickly as you are doing today? If I can ask you first. Tricky question, I suppose.
I appreciate you read it, and I mean it's not always been like this. I can tell you that. And as you know, you look at companies in our industry, there are times where you have a strong momentum, and there are other times when it's more challenging. The company is 17 years old, and I would say over the last 7 years, and I've been fortunate being here for 5 years. It's been a very, very strong growth driven to a large extent by very good technology, and we do a lot of different things. So right now it is a strong momentum, and that also creates a buzz around the company. It's like obviously something we do something right, and then helps me as a business guy as well, closing new deals.
Yeah, it's a good place to be when the company is growing that quick. You don't have to look behind your back exactly if there's a target on your back, but with this type of nice growth. I mean, CAGR of 63% on the EBITDA side of things, average growth year on year 60. I mean, it's an absolutely incredible to see. But I just wanted to set the tone on that note, just to kind of point out the incredible growth and the standing of the industry that EveryMatrix have achieved today. But taking a little bit step back, Erik, to starting on you as a person yourself, I'm really curious for you to explain a little bit more to the audience of your background. You were at NetEnt obviously for many years before moving over to EveryMatrix, but we'd love to hear kind of your founding story, let's say.
Yeah, sure. I joined the industry, after university in 2010. So it's quite an interesting story because I was interviewing for a couple of jobs, and being one, I already had an offer on the table, and I was going down to Malta for a final interview. But then we had this volcano right in the spring of 2010 that kind of stopped all air traffic in Europe for a good 3 weeks. So my let's say online gaming dream could have been faded away already back then. But yeah, no, I got down there. NetEnt at the time had around 5 employees. 200 in the organization on a very strong trajectory, but still very much a business in Northern Europe. I did business development there in Malta. Kind of 2 focus areas for me was getting the business into WLA operators or lotteries, in which we had no business at the time. And the second part, pretty early on, was planning for establishing business in the US. And around this time, the market was closed. And what everyone asked for at the time is like, do you guys have a poker product? We didn't have a poker product. And but fast forward, the market opened up in late 2013. We got the board approval to set up shop in the States like 1.5 years later. So that was that was great. But a Swedish company, there was a lot of checkpoints to be ticked off. But we felt comfortable moving in at that time. US can be very litigious, so that was one of the reasons. Are we sure? Can we ensure to have this product being launched, being games, without any issues, IPs, and these kind of things. So it took quite some time. I mean, we were a second mover in the market to gain market share, but we only had New Jersey, right? 2013 to 19. So we were very well prepared for the market launch in Pennsylvania. Our ambition was like, let's have the biggest portfolio of games. Let's have every customer that's going live on day one. I think there were 2 of them. And then the following week, it was a third operator. And we did. So that's in the summer of 2019. And when I left 6 months later, we had a market share that was more than half of the Pennsylvania market. So just overnight, we had a big business there.
Wow.
So that was my first US experience, setting up business, dealing with paychecks, ACH, bank accounts, all sorts of different things. Much more red tape than than you would see in other places. But it was great. And in the summer of 2020, and this was during COVID, or like right in the middle of it, EveryMatrix reached out as they were going into the US, and pretty quickly I signed the contract, and we moved ahead. And it also says something about EveryMatrix. It's like this interview process was probably around 7-8 days. It was a very quick decision. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. And it was cool also because a lot of the strategy work, what kind of products should we focus on, all of these things were like a clean canvas. So big iGaming focus, casino, and going for licenses the first 2 years. I mean, at this time you had 4 states like opened, so we did a lot of work on the license part, and alongside with that, trying to close contracts. And and we also elaborated a little bit on selling or being involved in RFPs and procurements around platform, sportsbook, and so on. But we saw pretty quickly on that the big operators was to a large extent wanting to have their own tech stack. So we have to adapt to that. And so that's kind of where we are today. Big focus on casino, games, aggregation, and bonus tools around that.
Brilliant. And I took note, of course, Erik, that the EBITDA has doubled since you began working for EveryMatrix. So I take it that you have a big part of that. Yeah. Good hire.
Yeah, good time.
So Erik, you mentioned earlier in the conversation that EveryMatrix is 17-year-old baby, let's say, still a teenager, but obviously very experienced in the industry. Can you talk about a little bit more the history of EveryMatrix, considering that it's been around for such a long time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 17 years. The guys that founded the company are still in leading position in management. Ebbe is still the CEO. So it started off as a sportsbook, and then I would say one thing that's important to note about EveryMatrix is that from the very start, when they were starting to develop other products, it was for the purpose of being modular. Today, a lot of companies are modular, but I believe EveryMatrix was one of the first ones doing this. So a sports book, then they built a PAM, and then a few years later, they built a casino aggregation platform, an affiliate management system being Partner Matrix. So all these kind of different modules have been developed over time, and very, very product-centric company, I would say. It's always been about delivering something that is better than what's out there, and also kind of the way we are structured. It's like every product have its own managing director, sales team, and account management. So it's really product centric.
All right. So it's it's not that you don't aggregate the teams that much. It's you don't centralize the teams that much. It's kind of like its own. Each product has its own little team, let's say, attached to it.
Yes. Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. And then there's also, of course, strong collaboration. So the managing directors for each product is also sitting in management, and once we take on a turnkey opportunity where we have sports, casino, and PAM and affiliate, management system, there is a lot of collaboration. But the history is like, I think the first 10 years, like most businesses in this industry, is learning, growing pains. And I mean, I wasn't there at the time, but I worked for a company that used EveryMatrix as a distributor of content. Also, when they had white labels and different things. So EveryMatrix was a big customer of NetEnt, essentially. So I kind of saw it from the side, and they were growing very healthy. But what really kind of caught my attention was, I think, in 2016, when EveryMatrix was selected the casino platform for the Norwegian lottery, Norsk Tipping, and I would say that was the first major deal and a breakthrough into the lottery business, which I had experienced with NetEnt, how hard that is, and following that we got more lottery contracts. Tipico being another big deal, Wunderino, which was platform and casino aggregation, Bet at Home. So there's been a lot of deals now, from coming after 2016, and of course in the US we signed with the largest operators here, throughout the history of the company, what's really also amazing to see is that a lot of staff has remained for many years, and you also probably have around 50 people that's been working in the company, been working somewhere else, and then coming back. So I think that speaks.
That's always a good sign.
A lot to the culture and also very much an environment, a private company, and we agile. We test different things. Something doesn't work, but then we move on and we go to other places.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's interesting to hear how you structure the company, and that it's kind of like small companies within the larger organization almost. Because I was thinking, how do you define EveryMatrix as an organization? It's kind of like a B2B service provider type company, but it's there's a lot of different products that sits within the company, and each of those products is almost operating as its own company, and it's interesting to hear how it all tied together in that regard, because it seems to be some of these products, maybe there isn't like always a massive amount of overlap, but the idea is that you want to build these products that you kind of see opportunities for within the industry better than anyone else. Is that kind of how, is that a fair like summary of the company, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that like any company is, of course, you have like growing pains. I mean, I came in when we were 500 people. We're now 1,400, just over this period of 5 years. But I think it's a fair assessment. It's just like product-centric, product-driven. And then we go to market in that way and collaborate. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared also among these teams, right? Because you have a guy selling sports products, and then you have casino. So that's something that we're constantly working on. It's like looking at your sales funnel versus mine. Are there synergies? What can we do? So and of course, the bigger you get, also the more complexity you build into your organization, and you just need to be aware of that and make the most of it.
Yeah, brilliant, Erik. And one of my favorite books is called From Good to Great by an author called Jim Collins, and it's kind of like the book of books in business theory. Jim Collins has studied great businesses over the course of his entire life, and he's trying to find kind of like red threads of what makes great companies great. And one of the chapters in that book is titled "Fire Bullets, Then Cannonballs." And the principle is basically that you shouldn't be scared of experimenting in a company, but make sure to test before you commit, let's say. So fire bullet first, and if this works, if it hits the target, then fire the cannonball and commit to the product. And I just tied this together with our prep call. You talked about that there has been experiments in the company in the past that hasn't worked out, let's say. And I'm curious to know, what are some of those failed experiments of the past in EveryMatrix, and what did the company learn in order to refocus to the successful machine that it is today?
Yeah, it's hard for me to. I mean, I've been here during successful years, so it's been a lot of success stories. But I think early on, if I'm not mistaken, like the company developed a poker product that was way before I started, I mean with that as well, it comes learnings. So I wouldn't maybe call it failures, more like learnings. One very important thing that happened 8 years ago was that the company, from being like going out and selling, took a hard look at themselves in the mirror, and it's like our tech stack needs to be refreshed, and they rewrote basically all the code. So you got a new, like an EveryMatrix 2.0 during that time. And that limit business for a while, but that is something I hear, at least, that was a very, very important decision to make. And other than that, I think there is, just like in any organization, you have you need to look at output of teams, reorganizations, be agile. I think that's like two examples that comes across.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm also curious to understand a little bit more, what was the moment that the business started to take off, and if I look at just the EBITDA results of the last 5 years, from 2022 to 2023, the EBITDA almost doubled, right? Like from 20 million. Before that, it's been kind of stable. 2020 was 14 million euro EBITDA, 2021, 19, 2022, 23. So there were good growth, but not this explosive growth that has happened in the last 2 years, where you went from 23 million to 60 million euro EBITDA, and then from 2023 to 2024, from 60 to 101 million euro EBITDA. So I want to ask you, like, what was the inflection point? What happened in 2023, or was there another time in the timeline where things kind of came together for the business?
I think it was built up by a strong pipeline of opportunities that then come to materialize. I mean, I mentioned this before, the customers getting more lottery operators going live. We also saw like the PartnerMatrix product also growing, the affiliate management system. That's we're the only turnkey provider that to my understanding, that have developed this in-house. So there were a bunch of different opportunities or deals that materialized in a very good way. It's hard to point out any single deal, but I mean, today we are one of the largest aggregators of casino content in the business. And I think, if you look into the future, that casino aggregation will continue being a big part of EveryMatrix, hopefully a success story for the next 5-year period. We have the most we have the most amount of game suppliers. I think we're now up to almost 400 studios, or 40,000 games. But we're still far from the largest aggregator in the US. And that's something, we would like to change. But again, we came in a little bit later. Then we have to build market share. A bunch of different things, but super strong on the casino side, and a couple of other large operators that's been growing very, very healthy.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I take note of that as well. Then from 2022 to 2023, that it was the casino vertical, especially, that had this massive growth. Also, the sports side doubled, but particularly the casino side of the business. On that note, I'm sitting here looking at the quarterly report, at the annual report right now. You are a private business, and still you report as if you were a public company, disclosing all these interesting and sensitive details to all your competitors and to the rest of the world. Why would you want to reveal this data to your competition?
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't think we see it as a communication directed to our competitors. It's more like another quality stamp. We're doing something good, and it will help business. So I think that's maybe why we brag a little bit, because it helps. I also think the whole exercise of looking into the numbers on a quarterly basis is important to keep track on where we are and where we want to be. So but you will also see that EveryMatrix communicates not just financial numbers. We have a bunch of different communications around our product, Casino Engine, and if you happen to visit our stand during ICE, we have these I wouldn't call it lectures, but you got headphones, and you have the sports team and the casino team where we're presenting our engagements with new products, and it was quite interesting to see. So financial communication supports sales alongside with what we want to communicate around products. So and this is something I always tell customers, prospects, or in procurements. It's like, when you're looking at the supplier or a partner, don't just look at what they have in their future roadmap. Also look at what did they have in their roadmap the year before and the year before, and then see what they actually delivered on. Because a lot of companies say that they're going to do a lot of things, but they don't. And I think we also miss deadlines. But a lot of the things that we planned for, we will launch. And again, I mean, being humble, some things may not work, but then we take that out.
I think it's such a brilliant player, because what this is, from my point of view, it's an integrity play, and you are being transparent to the world, but more specifically maybe to your customers and potential customers. And if you have choices between different potential partners, who do you want to work with? The company that discloses all its information, including wins and failures, let's say then, because no one is perfect, right? Or do you want to work with that company who doesn't disclose anything, and you have no idea of their background or history and trustability and so on and so forth? And by disclosing this data, you clearly position yourself as a company that is more trustable, right? I mean, you put yourself out there, and it's a bold move to do. And I think sometimes also companies overestimate how much time competitors spend on them. Let's say, like, even if you have a great idea, like, people are so stuck in their to-dos and their roadmaps that it's very difficult for competitors to tweak their strategies or whatnot, because they pick up on some detail in a quarterly report or whatnot. I think it's a great move. I think more companies should do it. Also, I say that because that gives us more things to write about. So that's another motive of mine, I suppose.
Yeah. We hope so. And your finance team needs to have something to do as well, right? So
exactly.
Now I will be beaten up by saying that.
Brilliant. Let's move over to lottery, Erik, because this has come back a few times in this conversation. You have background in lottery, of course, where you started that product within NetEnt, and this is of interest of yours in EveryMatrix as well. You mentioned earlier that lottery is a really difficult product, and we don't talk that much about lottery in this podcast through next reporting in the industry at large. Can you talk more about lottery itself? Why is it such a difficult product? And then talk a little bit more about the successes that EveryMatrix have.
Yeah, sure. I am really, I love talking about lotteries because it was almost what could have broken me, right? We struggled badly to get business with lotteries in the beginning, and then after some creative ideas, we managed to get a deal with Lottomatica with NetEnt way back, and then you had access to the IDTs of the world, and because that's part of the same group. Lotteries, well, first of all, if you look at their market, so most countries have a national lottery around the world. In China, for instance, you have a few of them. Their suppliers are their own. So that's how lotteries work in China. So IDT and Scientific Games and Intralot and Aristocrat and these guys that are big lottery providers from the land-based side, can be VLT machines, lottery systems, scratch cards, what have you. They have a limited footprint in that part of the world. But then, if you look at Europe, you have the Scandinavian lotteries. They all have a casino online offering, so we can sell them casino games, aggregation, a platform as well. So I would say in the forefront of lotteries into iGaming, sports betting, I would put Canadian lotteries and Scandinavian or the Nordics lotteries. And then if you look at the US lotteries here, sell traditional lottery products, which could be e-instants or scratch cards online. E-instant is sort of a more fun scratch card, if I may say. So, but in the US, huge potential. Only 7, I think, or 8 of the state lotteries have an e-instant offering today. Some of them,
you have the resellers, then,
yeah, exactly. And then, but still a lot is retail. So, I've been pitching to lotteries here where their online strategy is to basically subscribe lotteries online, and then you get them home in the mailbox. So,
exactly.
Of course, things will change over time. Scratch cards is big everywhere. But they are used to work with their traditional suppliers, the companies I mentioned before. And it's pretty hard to get into that environment. You can face procurement procedures, RFPs, public procurements, where one of the qualifications is that you have to have one lottery customer. If you don't, you're automatically disqualified. So how do you get into it? Yeah, well, you can. First of all, like always, you have to attend conferences. You have to learn their needs, and then establishing relationships over a long period of time. And you will see that a lot of these people will stay in this organization for a very long time.
It's a long sales cycle.
Yeah, and to add on top of that, CEOs and management for a lot of lotteries are political appointees. The Swedish lottery, they had at one point the former Prime Minister of Sweden's wife, Anitra Sten, as an example. So it's just how it is. And what they do, which is nice, of course, is that their profits go to charity or to good causes. So, but they play a different role in different countries. And I also see now what's a pretty interesting move is that a lot of the lotteries in Scandinavia is trying, to work together. They could have sort of joint procurement processes. If you're able to sell to one lottery, you can cater for them all, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, a lot of potential. E-instance, I would say, casino content and aggregation. We are an aggregator to the Norwegian lottery. We are an aggregator to Veikkaus in Finland, and we have a plan on catering for all the lotteries that have an iGaming offering.
Yeah, brilliant. So I want to focus a little bit on lottery in the US specifically, because it seems to be a very particular market over there, right? That is operating very conservatively, as you pointed out. It's kind of like a brick and mortar style offering for the most part. And then you have these resellers like Jackpocket and Jackpot.com, where you can then essentially buy the tickets. And Jackpocket will then secure that ticket in whatever way they secure it and hold it for you, essentially on an online basis. So they are trying to, let's say, digitalize that environment. But then now there seems to be a lot of turbulence on that front in the US, where Texas and other states are not allowing Jackpocket then to provide these services to customers. In the US specifically, is the idea then, let's say you're dealing with this like really slow-moving lotteries, let's say, that are operating the same way that they operated 80 years ago, let's say, and your thesis is that at some point or the other, they will modernize, but it might take time, but at some point they will modernize and bring the lotteries online, and then they will need a supplier like EveryMatrix, and that's the idea kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. I think rather than speaking of lotteries in particular, I mean, US is a very protectionistic market. Ironically, you have two non-traditional companies are the largest in iGaming at the moment and sports betting. But I think there's a lot to protect. I mean, lottery regulation, iGaming, sports betting, it's state by state. So you have kind of a limitation already there. So it's a local government that needs to make decisions. You have to, from a legal perspective, it's not that the lotteries are necessarily don't want to do things. It's just they are limited what they can do. So I think there's definitely an appetite to do more, but they also want to protect, the retailer system, the ones that have the shops. These are also their friends to a large extent. True. So I think it's like an ecosystem in itself. You have to see how you can contribute into that and make them comfortable. They're very, very similar to how tribal casinos and which is a class 2 gaming in the US that I would say haven't really embraced iGaming. You'll see them on a lot of conferences. They're learning, but their revenues and what they have on their reservation, the job opportunities, and all these things is something they protect. But again, going back to, you have today, I think 8-9 lotteries that have e-instance and scratch cards online. We can see from, if you compare value of the players in US lotteries, in the same way you value players for iGaming, they will spend more money than Europeans. So it's I would say lottery, e-instant, and scratch cards in the US, huge business, and it cannot be 3 or 4 suppliers of content to cater for all of that. So there's definitely inroads. It's going to take time, but big potential.
Yeah, and that is the summary of the US market at large, isn't it? It is a long play to establish yourself in the US, to go through these years of establishing, building relationship, perhaps earning cash in the meantime for a lot of companies. But the grand prize is there at the end of the tunnel, which is the fact that the US is the biggest market in the entire world, right? And I want to stay on that. I want to stay on this point a little bit, just talking more about the US specifically, since you are the president of the Americas in EveryMatrix, and you truly is one of the pioneers, Erik, in this market from an online gambling perspective. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts first and foremost. If we look at the casino side of things in the US, only a handful of states are currently legalized in the US. There doesn't seem to have been that much movement in recent years in legalizing states further. Of course, we know on the sports betting side, there's already most of the states that are live. How does EveryMatrix interpret the US market, considering that casino is your biggest vertical and casino aggregation, of course, is the most important product for the company today? How do you think this will play out, and what is your strategy in North America at this point?
Mm-hmm. If we look at the US, I mean there was a strong desire and momentum when PASPA repeal happened, and sports betting was coming all over the country. New revenues, that's a key thing. This is new revenues, new tax revenues for the state. Meanwhile, casino is a different animal. It's an established business, or iGaming in many states are land-based. So that casino regulation would move slow. It was kind of expected. I would have wished for a little bit more than what we currently have. But what I think a lot of people realize is that just running sports betting in each state will be a hard game to make a profit. So you need casino alongside sports betting to have a successful business operation. We've seen this in Europe as well. Even though maybe sports betting is sometimes seen as a little bit more appealing, has less of a stigma, and all of that. I think sports betting, casino is gambling. So I think that's
a good point.
Important.
Good point.
Yeah. But from our perspective, I think it's very nice because I go back to 2019. It's like now we have one state yet to go live in, and that is Connecticut, which will happen in the next couple of months. And then we are up to speed where we want to be. So once we know that the next state will be opening up, then we will be there day one, and we will have a strong offering from the get-go and grab market share from the start. So that is very, very exciting. The two states I really like to see, or there's a big chance they will regulate over the next 3-4 years, maybe even faster, would be Florida and New York. That will mean 45 million new players. So basically, you double the market by adding those two. Both of them have sports betting, and there are activities to move ahead with iGaming. Of course, we never know how long time that will take. So that will be huge. Of course, the difficult one be California, where with multiple stakeholders, a lot of tribal casinos and all sorts of operators, strong lottery as well, and a history in basically. The cars have their own emission standards. California is difficult in terms of
it's its own country.
So it's definitely its own country. That would be fantastic, but that is something I don't see happening in the next 5 years, unfortunately. So still a very good outlook. And you mentioned like casino being a big part of our DNA, and surely it is. In Canada, if we move up there, Ontario is a pretty interesting market, and in Canada we will, also sell platform services and other things. So the turnkey, so that's quite exciting.
Yeah, brilliant. And staying on the topic of Canada for a moment, obviously the legalization within Ontario has been wildly successful, and now we have Alberta upcoming at some point as well. This must also be a really interesting and exciting market for EveryMatrix, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, for sure. And it's also the interesting territory in the current political landscape as well. And I think, and I hope that our U.S. customers will remain doing good business up there, even though it's it's a bit complicated. But yeah, no, Ontario. If we start there. Very much like a European market, fragmented, a lot of different operators, and a lot of business to be made. It's growing, very healthy. Still have, it will be one of the largest iGaming markets in North America quite soon. We've only been live there for a while. So, I mean, the difference here is also that in the US, you have a handful of operators that basically have a stronghold of the market. Canada is different, more like what we've seen in Europe, more fragmented. And like you pointed out, we were live in Ontario, by the way, since I think 8 months. Alberta seems to be happening in Q1 next year. We are very, very eager to be there at day one. We are involved in a couple of RFPs. It's one of the richest territories in terms of GDP per capita in the world, and that's always good for gambling. Canada is very interesting. And then, of course, we have British Columbia and Quebec that is currently run as monopolies under the lottery umbrella. I would think that will also change over time to capture a lot of players that decide to play on offshore sites and what have you. I think Canada is very interesting market.
Brilliant. And moving down to South America and Central America as well, where the entire global iGaming industry is currently looking towards as the El Dorado of the times, if you will. What has been the focus for EveryMatrix from a Latin American perspective, and what opportunities do you see in the Latin American market currently?
Yeah, I think it's a very very interesting place as well. Mexico, I think, again, look at the different countries. Mexico, in the same way, Canada is like a mix of Europe and the US. Mexico is like a mix of the US and Latin America. The sports they like, American football, and the way they run business. There's a lot of ties between US and Mexico. So Mexico is definitely a very interesting market. You have big casinos, US style. I visited a few myself, and the land-based guys here will have a big position also online. Still a lot to be done, I would say. You have Caliente today that's dominating that market, but it's a country of, I think, 120 million people, so it's big.
Massive.
Peru. You used to be with Betson. It's amazing to see what they have done over there, sponsoring and acquiring certain assets. We're currently live in Colombia with casino. We have aggregation business also in this part of the world. I think everyone is looking at Brazil, and certainly we do that as well. right now it's Brazil. I think will always be dynamic and changing. We had so much going on over the last couple of years, so a strong position as a platform provider today we don't have, so we're not one of the first. But will there be operators with in-house build technologies that would look at changing part of their tech stack in the next couple of years? I surely think so. But again, here I think we need a stronger footprint in the region, and that is something that we are currently working on. We have relationships, but now it's also about execution and getting certified and ready to offer. I would say here, Brazil is a turnkey market for sure for EveryMatrix.
It's interesting to think about how the industry is attacking these emerging markets one by one, where recently in the last couple of years the entire industry have kind of angled itself towards Brazil specifically, but then obviously the neighboring countries around Latin America as well. Before that, all the eyes were on North America, for example. When you think about emerging markets of the future, what will be the next Brazil, do you think? Or where does EveryMatrix look at the moment when it thinks about the next hot market, let's say?
Good question. I would rather, emerging markets, I would go back to not geographical markets in this sense, split it by the kind of operators I think would be very interesting to cater for in the future. That would be lotteries for sure, all around the world, with the caveat of doing business in parts of Asia. It's difficult. Just a lot to be done there. I think class 2, like tribal casinos in the US, should take off at some point. I mean, once you see a big, that they embrace the online business, that will be a huge accelerator for new states to regulate gambling. I hope that will happen. So I would rather look at kind of the different operators that we like to address, and the only way to get to do business with these guys is to know them, to be where they are, and establishing a relationship and trust both on your operations and the business side and in terms of product.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that, because I heard this as well during Next NYC the other month, this opportunity on the tribal front particularly. It's related to the fact that the opportunity is there now to partner with the tribals in order to potentially get access to offer gambling outside of their territories as well, or something along this line. Like how do you, when you mentioned that tribal is a massive opportunity that hasn't materialized yet, can you just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the short story is that they are allowed to do gambling on their reservation, their land. And of course, if they are to provide their services outside of their land, then you tie into other regulation and other things. They also have different taxes, lower taxes, I would say, on doing business on their land. So it's like an ecosystem that provides for them in a lot of different ways. Doing things outside of the reservation will mean that they have to work with the state and find deals, compacts, or I'm not an expert in that space, but I mean, being in Florida, you have the largest, the Seminole Hard Rock, right? That owns Hard Rock.
Yes.
They guarantee payments of billions of dollars in tax revenues each year to be able to run gambling in the state. Yeah. That is the deal they have. So, and of course, that's being challenged by other operators that want to get in. So again, here is looking at state by state. And I think particular states of interest where tribal casinos are strong is, of course, California, we mentioned, Oklahoma, also So it all depends. You have New York. On Long Island, you have a couple of reservations with certain rights, and they want to play a role also in the entire state to provide services for iGaming if they're going to embrace it. And then you have this conversation that needs to be with the governor's office and all sorts of other distractions. So not easy, but the conversation needs to be held so that you can capture the business and not just focusing on land-based gaming, which still is absolutely. I'm not one of those that say that land-based gaming is gonna die out or anything, but it's just a different demographic. And guess what, Pierre? Even though you cannot believe it, you and I will also be 50 plus and maybe enjoy.
That's
going
a long
to
time.
The casinos, stay for a weekend, see a show.
I'll go there with you, Erik.
Yeah,
I'll go there with you, my friend. We'll do some roulette together and eat some chicken wings on the side. So yeah, I'm there with you, man. Really have fun. Last question for you here today, Erik. When you think about the future of EveryMatrix in the next 3 years, you are almost doubling EBITDA year by year. Is that growth going to continue, do you think? Where do you see EveryMatrix in 3 years' time?
We will continue grow our business. I mean, we have seen exceptional growth. I still think we will see strong growth. I'll not disclose, any number. But, for me, looking at the sales funnel and the pipeline, there are some really big opportunities that I think will materialize, completely new business. So partly organic growth with existing partners, we see that very strong, but also new business coming in. And I think that there is opportunities for us to take some larger contracts in terms of being a turnkey provider. I mean, we've done it with Bet at Home. It's basically our they have all of our technology now. So, but taking on turnkey business requires a lot of thoughtfulness and picking the right partners to work with, because it's a big undertaking, right? So strong growth, future expansion into lotteries, US, Canada, and we didn't talk much about Africa, but that's also, of course, an interesting market that we are looking at as well.
Brilliant. There you have it, folks. No rest for the wicked. Erik Nyman keeps working hard in the next couple of years as well. Thank you so much, Erik. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation. Incredibly fascinating company that you are driving growth towards. And Erik as well, congratulations to you as well for being part of that success, of course. Thank you for giving me your time today.
Thank you, Pierre. It's been really nice talking to you. And again, NEXT is also growing all over the world. So continue, do that. And it's been an honor being here. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Erik.